guys, welcome to Set to Squeaks. Here we are with the second part of periodicals and journal series, and if you have missed out the last video, please do watch it. So let us begin our today's session. Starting from the Fraser's Magazine for Town and Country was a general and literary journal published in London from 1830 to 1882, which initially took a strong Tory line in politics. It was founded by Hugh Fraser and William Maginn in 1830 and loosely directed by Maginn under the name Oliver York until about 1840. It circulated until 1882 when it was renamed as Longman's Magazine. In its early years, the publisher James Fraser played a role in soliciting contributors and preparing the magazine for the press. After James Fraser's death in 1841, the magazine was secured by George William Nicholson and in 1847 by John William Parker. In 1863, Thomas and William Longman took over all of Parker's business. Its last notable editor was James Anthony Freud. In 1882, Fraser's Magazine was renamed as Longman's Magazine and was popularized and reduced in cost to 6 pence. Next one is the Southern Literary Messenger. It's a periodical published in Richmond, Virginia from August 1834 to June 1864 and from 1939 to 1945. Its each issues carried a subtitle of Devoted to Every Department of Literature and the Fine Arts, and includes poetry, fiction, non-fiction, reviews and historical notes. It was founded by Thomas Willis White, who served as its publisher and occasional editor until his death in 1843. White hired Edgar Allan Poe in 1835 as a staff writer and critic. Others involved with this periodical include Matthew Fontaine Maury and Maury's kinsman Benjamin Blake Minor. Its publication ended in June 1864 because of Richmond's involvement in the American Civil War and was revived from 1939 to 1945. The Southern Literary Messenger first appeared in August 1834 with Thomas Willis White as publisher. Edgar Allan Poe served as its editor for a time, and after his departure, White resumed editorial duties before he hired Lieutenant Matthew Fontaine Maury as its editor from 1840 to 1843. Upon White's death in 1843, Benjamin Blake Minor served as its editor and publisher from August 1843 to October 1847. The loss of writing and subscriptions led to the journal's cancellation in June 1864. As was explained editorially in the last issue, the press in Richmond and the town in general had been thrown into considerable disarray by the American Civil War. Then comes the Burton's Gentleman's Magazine. Burton's Gentleman's Magazine or American Monthly Review was a literary publication published in Philadelphia from 1837 to 1840. Its founder was William Evans Burton, who is an English-born immigrant to the United States who also managed a theatre and was a minor actor. Edgar Allan Poe was an editor and contributor in 1839 to 1840. The magazine included poems, fiction, and essays with an emphasis on sporting life. Its articles featured sailing, cricket, hunting, and many more. To compete with other magazines of the time, Burton's included extra illustrations and thicker paper than standard. The magazine's most famous contributor and one-time editor was Edgar Allan Poe in 1839. In Burton's, Poe published well-known tales including The Man That Was Used Up, The Fall of the House of Usher, William Wilson, Morella, and others. Disagreements between the two caused Burton to fire Poe in June 1840. In 1840, Burton sold the magazine to George Rex Graham. It was then merged with Casket to become Graham's Magazine, which began publication with the December 1840 issue. Next one is the Graham's Magazine. It's a 19th century periodical based in Philadelphia, established by George Rex Graham and published from 1841 to 1858. It was alternatively referred to as Graham's Ladies and Gentlemen's Magazine, Graham's Magazine of Literature and Art, Graham's American Monthly Magazine of Literature and Art, and Graham's Illustrated Magazine of Literature, Romance, Art, and Fashion. The journal was founded after the merger of Burton's Gentleman's Magazine and Atkinson's Casket in 1840. It publishes short stories, critical reviews, and music, as well as information on fashion. Graham intended the journal to reach all audiences, including both men and women. Graham's may have been the first magazine in the United States to copyright each issue. Edgar Allan Poe became the editor of Graham's in February 1841 and soon was publishing the harsh critical reviews for which he became known. It was also where he first published The Murders in the Rue Morgue, which is now recognized as the first detective story. After Poe left the journal, his successor was Rufus Wilmot Griswold, a man who bitterly disliked Poe. Grahams began rejecting Poe's submission and passed up the chance to publish The Raven. Graham left his magazine for a time in 1848 and it eventually ceased in 1858. In December 1840, Graham had just acquired Burton's Gentleman's Magazine and merged it with another recently purchased magazine, Atkinson's Casket. The casket, subtitled as Flowers of Literature, Wit and Sentiment, had been in existence since 1826 and despite the small subscriber base was flourishing financially. Graham intended his new magazine to be popular amongst both men and women, containing fashion, photography, music, short stories and critical reviews. Then comes the Gospel Reflector. It is the first independent Mormon periodical published by Benjamin Winchester, the president of the Philadelphia branch. The Gospel Reflector was published as bi-weekly beginning in January 1841 and ended with the 12th issue in June 1841. Its motto is, "When God works, who can hinder?" Next one is the Broadway Journal. It's a short-lived New York City-based newspaper founded by Charles Frederick Briggs and John Biscoe in 1844 and was published from January 1845 to January 1846. In its first year, the publication was bought by Edgar Allan Poe, becoming the only periodical he ever owned, though it failed after only a few months under his leadership. Briggs, previously known as a satire novelist under the pseudonym Harry Franco, wrote a letter to James Russell Lowell on December 7, 1844, announcing his intentions to start a journal. Upon its founding as the Broadway Journal, Briggs handled the editorial duties and solicited for contributors, while his business partner, John Biscoe, handled the publishing and financial concerns. On February 21, 1845, Edgar Allan Poe signed a year-long contract to become an editor of the publication. He also agreed to write at least one page worth of original material per week. He received 1/3 of the profits as well. Poe then had full editorial control and ownership of the Broadway Journal. Poe published new versions of many of his works, including The Mask of Red Death, The Oval Portrait, and others. He also continued his role as a literary critic, including accusations of plagiarism against Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. He also used the Broadway Journal for a very public flirtation with Francis Surgeon Osgood and to raise money for his never-realized dream of a new magazine to be named as The Pen. The Broadway Journal attempted to be a more serious intellectual journal compared to others at the time. Because of this, it had a smaller audience and was less financially successful. It emphasized literary reviews but also featured criticism of art, theatre and music as well as poetry and articles on politics. Next one is The Germ. The Germ, Thoughts Towards Nature in Art and Literature, was a periodical published by the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood to disseminate their ideas. It was not a success and only survived for 4 issues between January and April 1850. The Germ was renamed as Art and Poetry, being Thoughts Towards Nature, conducted principally by artists for its last 2 issues. The Germ published poetry by William Michael Rossetti and other members of the Brotherhood, including his brother D.G. Rossetti, Thomas Woolner, and James Collinson. It also printed contributions of verse and essays on art and literature by associates of the Brotherhood, including Fort Madox Brown and Coventry Patmore, as well as occasional book reviews. Its illustrations were provided by members of the Brotherhood and its every issues began with an original etching. William Holman Hunt provided an illustration to Woolner's poem My Beautiful Lady in the first issue. Collinson illustrated his own poem The Child Jesus in the second issue. Madox Brown created a 2-page illustration of the King Lear and his daughters for the third issue. Walter Deverell depicted Viola and Olivia from Shakespeare's Twelfth Night in the last issue. The title The Germ refers to the pre-Raphaelite belief in the importance of nature and of the human imagination as implied by the phrase the germ of an idea. They hoped that the magazine would be a seed from which new creative ideas would grow. It was subtitled as Thoughts Towards Nature in Art and Literature to emphasize the editor's belief that poetry and art should be closely intertwined. In the hope of improving the magazine's poor sales, it was renamed with the less ambiguous title Art and Poetry, being Thoughts Towards Nature, conducted principally by artists for its final 2 issues. Then comes the Macmillan's Magazine. It's a monthly British magazine published from 1859 to 1907 by Alexander Macmillan. It's a literary periodical that published fiction and non-fiction works from primarily by British authors. Thomas Hughes had convinced Macmillan to found the magazine. Its first editor was David Mason and was replaced in 1865. George Grove edited the magazine beginning in 1873. In its first decade of existence, Frederick Denison Maurice was a prolific contributor. Next one is Granta. It's a literary magazine started in 1889. It published 27 laureates of Nobel Prize Literature, and the published works regularly win prizes such as Forward Prize, T.S. Eliot Prize, Pushcart Prize, and many more. It was founded by students at Cambridge University and was edited by R.C. Lehman. It was started as a periodical featuring student politics, badinage, and literary efforts. Its contributors include Juvenilia of Geoffrey Gower, William Empson, Michael Frayn, Ted Hughes, Sylvia Plath, and Steve Smith. Then comes the Clio, a journal of literature, history, and the philosophy of history. It's a double-blind, peer-reviewed, international, interdisciplinary journal that publishes scholarly essays that explores the connections between history, literature, and arts. Humans understand themselves and their cultures, even create themselves and their cultures through stories. Sometimes we call those stories history, and sometimes we call them as literature. Clio is interested in the interconnectedness of these two disciplines as well as the philosophical work that supports these kind of inquiries. It publishes research essays at the intersections of these disciplines, that is, not factual expositions of historical events or uncontextualized readings of literary texts, but articles that are interdisciplinary in argument and method. Clio has been in existence for almost 50 years and is published in both print and electronic form with full text availability through EBSCO academic databases such as Bibliographic Reference Center, History Abstract with full text, History Reference Center Plus, and Humanity Source. Next one is the Connoisseur. It's a British magazine taken to the US by William Hearst and was published by 1901 to 1992. It dealt with fine arts, collectibles, and antique furniture. It is still in circulation and created iconic topics about art and architecture. Next one is the English Review. It's a literary monthly magazine started in 1908 and ended in 1937 by Ford Madox Ford. Its first issue contained original works by Thomas Hardy, Henry James, Joseph Conrad, John Galsworthy, and many more. Austin Harrison took its editorship after the sale of this magazine. He broadened the scope and view by incorporating women writers and also included Sherwood Anderson, Anton Chekhov, Hermann Hesse, Aldous Huxley, Catherine Mansfield, Bertrand Russell, George Bernard Shaw, Ivan Turgenev, and W.B. Yeats. In 1937, the magazine was absorbed by the National Review. Harrison sold the magazine to Ernest Remnant in 1923 and became conservative and less literary directional. Then comes The Poetry, a magazine of verse. It's a monthly poetry journal in the English started in 1912 in Chicago. It was founded by Harriet Monroe. It is now published by Poetry Foundation and it is also referred to as Poetry Chicago. T.S. Eliot's first professionally published poem, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, was published in Poetry. It also publishes early works of Robert Frost, Langston Hughes, Edna St. Vincent Millay, and Maureen Moore. It discovered poets as Gwendolyn Brooks, James Merrill, and John Ashbery. It launched the Imagist and Objectivist poetic movements. Next one is The Echoist. It is subtitled as an individual review. It's a London literary magazine started in 1914 and ended in 1919. It published controversial works like Ulysses and is considered as England's most important modern periodical. It was founded by Dora Marsden. It was initially published as fortnightly and then as monthly. Its assistant editors include Richard Aldington and Leonard Compton Rickett with Hilda Doolittle. When Aldington left, T.S. Eliot took his place. Then comes The Blast. It's a short-lived literary magazine of the Vorticist movement in Britain. 2 editions of The Blast were published and the first one was on 2nd July 1914, but its publication was delayed. It has a bright pink cover, referred to by Ezra Pound as the Great Magenta-covered Opusculus, and the second a year later on 15th July 1915. Both editions were written primarily by Wyndham Lewis. The magazine is emblematic of the modern art movement in England. It is recognized as a seminal text of pre-war 20th century modernism. The final report came with the publication of Blast, written and illustrated by a group of artists assembled by Lewis from a determined band of miscellaneous anti-futurists. The name Vorticism was coined by the poet Ezra Pound, who is a close friend of Lewis and the group's main publicist. Writing to James Joyce in April 1914, Pound described the magazine in ambiguous terms. Lewis is starting a new futurist cubist imagist quarterly. I can tell it is mostly a painter's magazine with me to do the poems. Next one is a Saturday Review. The Saturday Review of Politics, Literature, Science and Art was a London weekly newspaper started in 1855 by A.J.B. Beresford Howe. Its first editor was the Morning Chronicle's ex-editor John Douglas Cook. Frank Harris was its editor from 1894 to 1898. It had an anti-German attitude, and Gerald Barry became its editor in 1924 and resigned in 1930. It had a rivalry with Weekend Review, which later merged with New Statesman. In 1933, it was purchased by eccentric Lucy, Lady Houston, and promoted national views on Britain. It was closed in 1938 after her death in 1936. Next one is GLQ, a journal of lesbian and gay studies. It's a scholarly, peer-reviewed journal-based publication by Duke University Press. It was co-founded by David M. Halperin and Caroline Dinshaw in the early 1990s. In its mission, the journal seeks to offer queer perspectives on all issues touching on sex and sexuality. Its current editors are Jennifer DeWard Brody, who is the professor of theatre and performance studies at Stanford University, and Marcia Ochoa, associate professor of feminist studies at University of California, Santa Cruz. It offers a forum for interdisciplinary discussion. GLQ publishes scholarship, criticism, and commentary in areas as diverse as law, science studies, religion, political science, and literary studies. Its aim is to offer queer perspective on all issues touching on sex and sexuality. GLQ has expanded to include lesbian and gay studies, newsletter, book reviews, and calls for papers. Next one is the American Speech. It's a quarterly academic journal and the American Dialect Society, established in 1925 and was published by Duke University Press, established by Kem Malone, Louis Pound, and Arthur G. Kennedy to present information about English in America in a form appealing to general readers, and was inspired by H.L. Mencken. It focuses primarily on English language used in the Western Hemisphere, but also publishes contributions on other varieties of English outside influences on the language and linguistics theory. Its current editor is Thomas Purnell. It became the official journal of the American Dialect Society in 1970. Next one is a Transition. It's an experimental literary journal that featured surrealist, expressionist, and Dada art and artists. It was founded in 1927 by Maria MacDonald and her husband Eugene Jolas and was published in Paris. They were later assisted by editors Eliot Pohl, Robert Sage, and James Johnson Sweeney. This literary journal was intended as an outlet for experimental writing and features modernist, surrealist, and other linguistically innovative writing, and there were contributions by visual arts, critics, and political activists. It ran until spring 1938 and a total of 27 issues were produced. It was distributed primarily through Shakespeare and Company, the Paris bookstore run by Sylvia Beach. Yes, guys, that's all for now. Hope you understood this session very well, and if you have any doubt or queries regarding our channel's videos, you can post it in the comment section. And guys, if you find these videos useful, please do subscribe. So we will be back with the third part in the next video. Until then, stay tuned guys.